welcome to Loft Media, where we speak about corruption in the Queensland government. We fight for democracy, and our motto is "Let truth flourish." And who would have known a couple of years ago, when we established this conversation via Loft Media, that the world would have deteriorated into the place that it is right now, and particularly Australia and particularly Queensland. So only blind Freddie, or must be the dumbest or the most stupidest persons out, can't see that truth is finally surfacing in the powers and the principalities that are ruling this place. So right from world government, which was a conspiracy theory 30 odd years ago or 20 years ago, is now reality. You can see where Klaus Schwab and his Davos men and all these people have an agenda that's rolling forward. You can see where countries are handing over their sovereignty to the world government to make all the rules. World Health Organisations wanting to take more control over people's health. Abortion laws are rife, euthanasia laws are rife, but there are some naive people think that the government is trying to save you. Let me tell you, the government particularly, and here in Queensland, is not interested in you. They are interested in themselves, and they're covering their backsides big time. So I just thought it'd be time now to just have a pause and have a fireside chat, is what I've called it, on some of the subjects that when you piece them all together, it paints quite a gloomy picture. So, but do your own research, as we always say. Do your own research and see what conclusions you come up with. But if we keep electing the people that we elect, we're going to keep getting the same worsening result. So I'll start off. So some of the topics I want to cover is the Davos, electricity, inflation, the Triple C and corruption here in Queensland, interest rates, share prices, superannuation funds, our local member Bruce Saunders, oh golly, communism and socialism, and basically the mess that the state government has got. So there's a lot of little fields I'll just like to cover. You can disagree, agree, do your own research. But we're in for tough times, and now that the federal election has been run and won, and the Labor Party has got in federally wise, hang on to your hat, put the seatbelt on, because we're in for a bouncy time. Here we go. So I'll start with the Davos. This is world government. Klaus Schwab's little dream is coming to reality, and he recently had a meeting over with all the other elites of the world. That's the super wealthy people, and those that have been earmarked in all the countries to attend, and so they have their annual rah-rah, where they all get encouraged to go back to their own countries and continue on the way where this handful of elite people will control the nations, of which Australia is one who's signed up to it. So it's good there's an increasing number of politicians and increasing number of independent journalists who are bringing this to light. And one particular journalist I like now was a politician, so looking forward to getting a lot more information out of George Christensen now that he's out of government. These guys did know what was going on in the background, and hopefully George keeps bringing it forward. And in a little bit of a series, he's nominating or bringing out to light people who are part of the World Economic Forum. And one of them is a Liberal senator, and he names him, and his name is Senator Bragg, B-R-A-G-G. So he's a Liberal Party member, He was part of Malcolm Turnbull's. Malcolm was an investment banker, part of the elites as well. But he was also this Andrew Bragg, who's now a senator. He may as well be in the Labor Party for all the things of where he wants Australia to go. So lots of these things. It's all digital identity. It's a world currency. And World Health Organisation. The Communist Party must be just grinning to see the decay of Western world. That's on a little bit on Davos. I'm bouncing all over the place here. Inflation, we've known for a while. The government's been lying about inflation, but now everything's coming to the top. So with food, the price of food, meat, power, fuel, house prices, house renovations, rent, second-hand cars, all these costs are absolutely flying. So we're in for an inflationary period. We're also in for a period where the share market is on a downhill spiral. So therefore, superannuation funds will be becoming of less value because they're basically all based on shares in companies. And many of the shares that superannuation funds invest in, I personally think, are not wise investments. One particular investment, I'm not a financial advisor, however, common sense, these ones that are buy now, pay later, and the share values were about $20 a share. Now they're down to about 50 cents. Why anyone would want to invest in a buy now, pay later, or wear it now, pay later, eat it now, pay it later, it's got to be a dumb investment. So careful where you invest your money. Triple C in Queensland. Well, here we go again. Every time the Triple C comes up with yet a new inquiry, or we're going to do this, we're going to do that, the Premier, Anastasia Palaszczuk, says, oh yes, well we will have another inquiry into that. Well, the latest one is into the lobbyists. Last meeting I was talking about people who are lobbyists, and I mentioned a couple of names of Jim Sawley and Greg Hallam. Jim Sawley is the man in the background for the Labor Party, basically one of the kings of the Labor Party of Queensland. And another one who is so influential is Evan Moorhead. Do your research on that fella and his wealth and where he got it from, and his connections within the Anna Palaszczuk hierarchy of the Labor Party. My goodness me, the lobbyists. Now here's a word of warning. They're calling for submissions to it. I've recently done submissions to a couple of the inquiries. I'm waiting to hear back as to if there's any advance. I do suggest you're very wary if you are going to do a submission to the Triple C. There is still no whistleblower protection in Queensland, so you're putting yourself out on the edge of a cliff in Queensland if you start naming people and think that you have protection from the Triple C. I think it's just another dud inquiry, another millions of dollars for more people. And the Premier, that's basically what she falls back to now. She just goes, he denies it first, and then if it keeps bubbling along, well then, okay, we will have another inquiry. I mean, the LNP is calling for a royal commission into all the corruption in Queensland, not just these little separate inquiries. Just be careful. I remember Tony Hoffman, she blew the whistle on Dr. Patel way back 10 years ago, and she lost her career in all of that. Apparently 14% of senior public servants know and have admitted that there is some very sus dealings going on within the Queensland government, and those that are on the drip through the Queensland finances, Queensland government finances. While we're on that same subject, electricity right now is going through the roof. Shortage of electricity, finally realising that coal is probably a good producer of electricity. So light bulbs are going on with all bar green people who they come from a different planet. Where they think the power all comes from, I don't know. But anyway, Queensland's got the best coal in the world and can produce clean electricity, but we're still hoping that solar and wind will do the trick. In the meantime, just for your own, electricity companies in Queensland are generally government agencies, and so the electricity, like Ergon locally, they run a profit and loss during the year. They make a profit. The government comes to them at the end of the year, takes away the profit and utilises that in their own funds, and so then Ergon needs to then generate up their own finances to improve the infrastructures and all those sorts of things. So it's a profit arm of the government, and the government takes their profit from the electricity providers in Queensland. Once again, the rorts that are within that industry and the excessive payments that only a full commission will ever bring to light in all of that. Interest rates, they're on the way up now, so hang on to your hat. If you've got $1 million home and $1 million debt, then I think you're going to be losing your home unless you're on huge money or tongue-in-cheek, you work for the Queensland government where you can generate up your own incomes. Local news, and I just touched on this. The local news is so pathetic. I mean, all it is about, the local things in the courthouses, or the drunks or the drug runners or the vandalism. They do not delve. Their reporters are very young and inexperienced, straight out of uni. They're not really touching the subjects that really do matter, to me. It's a sad state of affairs, and more, the Courier Mail, Brisbane Times, Channel 792, don't watch, because there is an increasing number of independent journalists who I think are worth the time to look at. Local member Bruce Saunders, touch on my friend Bruce and Jobs for the Boys Bruce, and I know he watches this, and he has his army of followers who do have a look at it to see. And his latest one is that Bruce is jumping up and down about local councillors should not be allowed to stand for state politics unless they resign. So obviously Bruce is under threat. We're still waiting for the trains, the manufacturing of the trains to come. That's now a couple of years later, and it's promised. And I'm told the latest budget by our Treasurer Dick is also announcing the same trains to be manufactured again and again, so they just keep going over and over. But the new trains are not being manufactured here in Maryborough currently, and they're dragging the chain there. They're doing maintenance on the trains. I stand to be corrected, but Bruce, I'm sure he'll come forward with the truth. Bruce and the truth are two words you can't put together. But Bruce is feeling challenged about some local councillors that might stand. My personal view is there is no better state member than a person who has been through the apprenticeship of local council to learn how everything works, to then be able to step up into the state government area. So I think it's a great grounding for it, unlike union heavy thugs or lawyers or school teachers, which is basically what the Labor Party is made up of, is people that have never been out in the real world, who have run businesses, been self-employed. They're just people who have been on the gravy train of finances through government. And once again, I'll just touch on the legal system in Queensland is really suffering. It's not on the improve. There's an increasing backlog of cases. The education system is chaotic with the mandates and what the kids are being taught. What's going into these kids' heads is not helping for the clarity for their future. And our hospitals. Whew. Don't get sick, people. There's some great people working in the hospitals, but the systems in Queensland are stuffed. It's the only word for it. And there's no way known that this government has any answers for it. They throw more millions and millions, hundreds of millions at it. It's not the solution. The systems have had it. They don't listen to the real nurses who are on the ground, who know what's going on in the hospitals. So might sound a gloomy little summary. What I'm saying is this is the reality of where life is at. Here we are in June 2022, and we're heading to tough times. So I'm saying focus locally, get your life in order. Don't overcommit financially. Grow local, eat local, buy local, and let's just look after each other locally for a start. And but keep our eye on what's going on around the world, and that's what we'll be doing. We will be keeping our eye on the advancing corruption within the Queensland government, led by Anna Palaszczuk. And doesn't matter, she can change the colour of her hair or whatever, but it's really what's going on the inside within Queensland government is an absolute disgrace to the democracy that we used to have here in Queensland. Till next time, enjoy your life and let truth flourish.